Coming up, we have a new Running Man, but is it better than the original? Stay tuned to find out.
I've been thinking about the show. For the next 30 days, everyone in the country is trying to murder me.
Welcome to the Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. I am your host, Arturo Padilla, along with Mr. Nick Valdez. Before we get started, please do not forget to hit the subscribe down below and the thumbs up on the video. Tex, how are you, buddy? We got a good one for the folks out there today.
Howdy, everybody. Howdy, Arturo. Today we are talking about The Running Man, or should I say Running Men. We got a new Running Man from director Edgar Wright, who's behind Scott Pilgrim versus the World. And almost had a whole thing with Ant-Man, but Last Night in Soho, all sorts of good stuff. But we are getting into spoilers this time because a lot of the interesting stuff with The Running Man and this conversation is how it compares to the Arnold Schwarzenegger version and how it then compares to the Stephen King book. So we're going to be talking about a lot of different Running Men here in this conversation here. So just getting into it, The Running Man, this new version of the movie is more in line with the book. Yeah, Ben Richards, who's just kind of like an everyday kind of worker, but in the year, I forget what year it is in the movie. It's funny
it should be 2025 actually.
Yes. And it's funny in the Schwarzenegger movie, it's 2017.
Yeah.
So it's when it shows you the date in the original one, it's like, ooh, oh no, okay.
Because it came out in 1987. So it's like, yes. Oh my God, that future is going to be so dystopian.
Yes. And it's like, oh, I can't imagine what 2017 is going to look like. Yeah.
Flying cars and all these taxis driving around with robots.
Just as a small aside, that's always funny, right? That it's like, we are in those futures, right? When you look in the 80s movies and you see movies like Demolition Man, right? And you're like, Taco Bell is going to take over. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of true, but it's like, no, we still have other restaurants, right? And it's like, but we don't have flying cars. We don't have we have stuff that's barely maybe there. The best we have is AI, and even that's okay. So the best
even
we have
that's a disaster right now.
Yeah, right.
It's gonna be a human revolt, dude. Legit.
Yeah, and it's we have Skynet. Out of all the things we could have had, they give it a Skynet. But this is all to say, Ben Richards lives in a future where, things are very bad. They're all controlled by the network, which is just this one big conglomerate. And the only way to really make money and get out of the slums is by participating in these deadly game shows. And he ends up signing up for the Running Man. And that's kind of it. From there, it's survive 30 days and, you survive across the United States and just kind of have to live and be hunted down by these people. And it's when you look at it, you're like, oh, it's so much different than the Schwarzenegger film.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's because it's more in line with the book. Ben Richards isn't just some super cop who used to work for the network, who was one day was like, yo, we can't be shooting down innocent people, right?
And Bakersfield,
Yes. But it's funny to see some of the similarities between them, right? You see some of the stuff that unfortunately feels all too real, right? With the ability of to fake footage and to
the deep fakes, the heavy AI stuff. There is a lot of future tech going on here that's available today, and that makes it kind of scary. Back to the actual story at hand here, and the difference here, because in the 87 version, it's after you get the framing of Ben Richards and stuff, you legit get a game show. You get a game show where there's contestants and the hunters are bigger than life characters. Here you have Ben Richards running across America, as Tech said, and it's completely different in terms of the hunters and what Ben encounters. The obstacles are different here, but there are a lot of similarities in terms of what the network does to kind of hold Ben back or even push Ben forward, right?
Right.
There are some key differences here. Um, and it can make or break somebody's experience if they're walking into this movie expecting the exact same thing. So please, folks, before you even continue listening and before you go watch this thing, understand that it is totally different in terms of how the story unfolds. And we're gonna break it down for you folks here in a little bit. But Tex, just real quick, did you like the 87 version and how things went down that way, or did you like a 2025 version and how that stayed truer to the actual short
I
story?
mean, honestly, I kind of like them the same amount. Like they both have like good things about them. Like Schwarzenegger, he's for example, his version of Ben Richards, he's actively killing off they're called stalkers in the 87, like in the 80s version. And they're more theatrical, they're more like 80s wrestling themed, they're more like you have Jesse Ventura in there, you have like it's more American Gladiators at the time. It's more set around those big reality sports competitions at the time, right? So like it's bigger and grander, it's more cartoony, and for that, you get a lot more personality in that sense. And when Schwarzenegger kills each one, he's got a quip. He's the Schwarzenegger, so he's doing references to Terminator. He's like, oh well, I'll be back. There's stuff like that where it's like, yes, very entertaining on that front. And then you have, compared to this newer one, which is more fit for our modern era. It's fit for it's more trying to appeal to the entire society of reality game shows. It's trying to appeal to the whole, everyone has a smartphone and everyone can watch you and record you at all times. It's really keying into that particular part of society. And in that sense, it is entertaining in that way. And in that sense, they have two entirely different games that play out differently, but do kind of end up having the same amount of entertainment value, surprisingly. Like it's not
Yeah,
that like the new one, yes, it's missing out on like the colorful personalities for each of the big killers, but at the same time, it's also not a Ben who's like actively trying to kill each one. Like in the 80s one, Schwarzenegger was like, yo, I'm taking all these people out. Ben Richards is like, I one by one, and I'm gonna joke about each one while I come up and try to kill the guy in charge. And in Ben Richards one, it really, like in Ben Richards one, in Glenn Powell's version, he is just a guy trying to survive for his family. It's
mhm,
more in tuned in that sense. It's more in the
yes,
survival. So just saying all that, they're kind of just entertaining in the same way. Ultimately, I don't think one is better than the other because they kind of do also have the same kind of flaws, because the 80s one is very 80s, and it's like if you're watching it now and you're like, yes, it is funny when Schwarzenegger says a line after he kills like Dynamo, right? Or no, not he killed like Sub-Zero, right? He's like, oh,
yes,
he's on ice now or something.
yes.
And it's like,
Or
yeah,
Sub Zero.
and it's like, that's funny and all, but it's also like, well, when you think about the themes of the story and you think about the themes that are in present in the newer one, it's like, well, I kind of like what the message was trying to be in this new one, right? But
Yeah,
then you look at the flaws of the new one as well, and it's like, okay, it's so much longer, it's so much more involved with the game itself. The game gets a little confusing in terms of like what he is able and what he
yeah.
isn't able to do, and it's like, oh, there are more
Okay.
characters thrown in,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, it's messier, and it's a little more heavy handed, and it's like, oh,
Yeah, I totally
but
agree.
yeah,
There's a lot
yeah,
of things that pop up because you just can't help it walking into the theater. And
yeah,
like, because that's the only thing you can actually compare it to. It's the 87 version, right? But Tex
yes,
is absolutely right in terms of them both having a level of enjoyment that kind of just stands as a zeitgeist, right? Like, yes, the
yeah,
87 version was awesome in the 80s and the 90s, but if you actually make that kind of movie right now, it'll seem very, very kooky and very B movie like. While this one, in
yeah.
comparison, has that reality and it is a lot more grounded in terms of what can happen. All that said, Tex, I'm glad you brought up Glenn Powell and I'm glad you brought up Mr. Arnold. We have two different Ben Richards here, two very different kind of angles in terms of what this character is supposed to be. As Tex was saying
Yeah.
earlier, the Ben Richards in the 87 version was more of, hey, it's I have to kill through these people to get to Killian, which is, the head of the network. He's like, no, like that is the only way. There's no other way here. While Glenn Powell is doing his best to just avoid conflict as much as possible until
Right.
it comes for him. And that is also one of the fun things about this one, that you get those 30 days, right? Well, you know what? Let's hold off on the game for a second. I just want to talk about Glenn Powell real quick. Glenn Powell, I have to say, a little underwhelming as Ben Richards. Great action star, but in terms of those emotional moments that I wanted from that character and from those scenes in particular, I think he fell a little bit flat. In this iteration of Running Man, he has a family, he has a wife, he has a child. The child is sick to begin with, so he lost his job and he's looking for work. He's looking for a way to make money. And there's these very emotional moments between him and his wife that I wish Glenn Powell would have reached a little bit more, but I'm not sure if that's a direction thing. But I think that is one gripe that I do have here
Yeah.
for him. But when it comes to the action, folks, this man is ripped to the heavens and he is ready for all the action. But that said, I do wish they kind of leaned into that a bit more. The fact that this dude looks ripped and he's looking for action. I wish they had given him a bit more obstacles in between the end of the movie and the start of the game. I feel that they could have taken a lot more in terms of what they dished out his way. In terms of Arnold in the 87 version, that's where one of the key differences really is, because the stalker are stalking you in this set level. Like, you're dropped into these zones in the 87 version where you're contained there until the stalker is either dead or you're dead. So here you have the entire ground of the United States to roam
Yeah,
around and
because
hide.
he's like, he starts in New York and then he goes to Boston, and at one point he's in Derry to be like the Stephen King universe from
Yeah.
the
Ha ha
whole,
ha.
from the It universe. It's like, oh, okay, they have a whole
I was hoping to
sequence in
see a red
Derry.
balloon float around somewhere. I was
Yeah,
like,
and it's
where is
like,
it?
yeah, and that's one of those things where you're like, oh, okay, that must have been from the book, a whole Derry sequence, but
Yeah.
it's like, uh this is where it gets muddied, and that is exactly what Arturo is talking about, where it's like, there's so much time spent on expanding this world around the Running Man that it kind of, the game itself gets lost in the mix, and the action of that game gets lost in the mix, because like
Yeah.
Arturo was saying, Glenn Powell looks like he could be an action star, but it's more like, okay, the Running Man, they take it very literally in this adaptation of like, oh, he is going to be running for, and for the duration of the movie. There are going to be locations that you hear about that he's trying to get to and then never does. Like it's like, okay, then why do we even bother talking about that in the first place? Why did
Yep.
we
Agreed.
have to be introduced to all these other characters who ultimately are just there for like a set piece? And you're like, okay, building that set piece is fine, but then like, you have sequences in the hotel where you kind of get the peak of this movie. You see a hotel in all the trailers. You see a part where he's like outside on the window and he's like running through, and you see cool camera tricks as like the cameras are like on the outside and recording the whole thing. And it's great in the movie. You get that basically when the game starts, and you're like, oh, okay, this hotel scene was so cool. I really hope that this is the trend for the film. And then
Yes.
immediately after, like the action kind of stops, and it's like, yes, it's a cat and mouse thing, but it's like, you had one point where
Mhm.
he's like kind of fighting back tooth and nail, and it's super exciting, and then just kind of never gets to that level of excitement again. That's also the issue with this one, right? It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. And that's why the original has that one up, because
yeah,
it constantly puts Ben Richards into these obstacles, aka those zones against those stalkers. And those stalkers have, so every zone has a stalker and he's always encountering somebody, he's always has to fight somebody. Here
right,
there's a lot of lull time in terms of
yeah,
what's going on screen and what's going on in the action portion. As Tex mentioned, after that hotel sequence, there's just him running and hiding and just not really getting those obstacles that I wish the network would throw at him. I think also their idea of hunters kind of falls a little short. They're not doing much hunting. Like Ben Richards is he's getting away with a lot of alone time in this movie. And for a game that's supposed to put all of America in it as an active participant, as they either film him with their phones, spot him out, report him, they get money for these reports, right? So I think they should have used that a lot more, and it would have been to the benefit of the action, of the suspense and the thrill. Because I'm not saying you need to, blow shit up all the time. I'm just saying, hey, like make these moments that are in terms of explosions less, like make these moments a little bit more suspenseful. Like there's these features of the game where he has to record a tape every single day and drop it off in the mailbox before the end of the day. I think they did some stuff with that, but they didn't do enough, because that puts a time limit to every single thing he does on a daily basis. And they just glaze over the time as like, okay, he's just chilling here, and
Yeah,
it's
it,
it's a missed opportunity, Tex.
yeah, it's one of those things where like that stuff is used for the grander part of this new one's narrative of like, that we're gonna bring society into it, and society is going to rebel because in the 80s one, Schwarzenegger, his version of Ben Richards, like everyone kind of finds out that the network fakes his stuff, and he takes a more violent approach to things. And in this one, it's more like, okay, Ben Richards is getting popular on TV. He's turning into a star, and he's turning into a not a martyr, but just someone that people can hope and like rely on. And it's like, okay, and then the network's trying to turn that into something else, and it gets into this whole grander story about his place in society and the society now and society wanting change. And it's like, it's a society, and it's like, it's that kind of stuff, and all that's bogged down. And when you don't get the action fueling through each scene, and you don't get that emotion of that stuff either, this is where it kind of falls apart. And it's especially true when you get to the third act and you get to the whole like conclusion of the game itself, because that's kind of what like it's still adapting what happened in the book. Because in King's version, you get the whole, he's got like a bomb, or he's faking that he has a bomb so he can fly over Derry, so he can fly to the network building, and all that stuff. The same happens in the book, right? He's doing the same thing. He's in this movie, he fakes he has a bomb, he gets on a plane, he's flying with the hunters so that the network can kill him on live television as part of the show. But he's like
Yeah.
trying to make it to where he can last as long as possible, only for them to try and offer him a hunter position, all that yada yada yada, right? Same thing, but the difference in the book is that he dies, like he full on dies. He dies from his wounds. The plane flies into the network building, and then thematic ending of like, oh, okay, he sparked a revolution kind of thing, right? And
Yeah, which is like exactly what they were intending to do
yeah,
with this story. But as Tex said, it fell apart somewhere
yeah,
there. And I'm not sure whether it was that they wanted to further this social revolution, which by the way, you don't really see boiling over,
yeah,
like you don't get moments where people are watching TV and going, you know what? Like that guy, man, he's gonna make it. He's gonna have a
yeah,
point. He
yeah.
just makes it to a town pretty much. That's just all for him, you
Yeah,
know?
you get like graffiti of like, oh, he's surviving. Richards
Richards
lives, and
lives.
it's a cool thing. By the end, you get this full revolution, and you're like, is this earned? No, I don't think so. Right? Like that's the thing. I don't think it
Yes.
earns its full revolution that they get, because there's no aggressiveness to that leading up
No.
to the ending.
No, exactly. And if people were on Ben Richards' side, you would see more than just one kid trying to help him, right? Because that's really
Yeah,
all the help he gets in this movie is this one kid. And it's like, okay, cool. But if that were the case all throughout the movie, because technically he's running for like almost a month, right? You don't see any other real person helping him out there. And that's like, where is this revolution sparking from? Because it seems like the network is treating everybody pretty well, right? Like,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
they're getting money for these reports. Why do they need to revolt? Like, you don't see injustices. Like, yes, you see class differences, but that's always the case, you know?
Yeah,
But
and
like,
that's the thing. Like, it's the same thing with real life injustice, right? It's that when
yeah,
you're so entrenched in it for such a long time, you there are people who just you don't see it, right? You don't actively fight against it all the time because that's just life, right? It's like,
yeah,
you're gonna actively fight against your life, and that's kind of what happens here. It's just that it's like so many people live in it. It's like, what's gonna be the thing that gets them off? And it's like, oh, by the end of the movie, it's trying to say Ben Richards going through this whole thing and maybe or maybe not dying is what sparked the revolution. But it's also like, no,
how?
yeah, it's like,
Like,
oh,
how?
yeah,
You know, because
yeah,
also, like, to your point, Tex, like in terms of sparking revolution and like how everything unfolds, Killian, played by Josh Brolin, and that chin, there's a silhouette of a chin. I'm like, ah, it's Thanos. He has a lovely chin, that man.
right,
But like,
right.
but Killian, they kind of made him too nice in this movie. Like, he doesn't really get dastardly until the very end where he's trying to offer him that deal. And then
Yeah,
even then, like, he jumps to that conclusion real quick. You know what? No, never mind. I'm going to just do this on my own.
yeah,
So I wish they would have milked his a villainy a little bit more.
yeah, because he's a slimy producer, but because he's like anything's good for TV, like all TV is good TV, it's more so like, oh, okay, I'm gonna work with you now to like try and make you like this level so you make the show more interesting, or I'm gonna do this to make the show more interesting. Oh, I'm gonna reboot you and put
Yeah.
you in a new sequel show that people are gonna love. And it's like, yeah, compare that to the 80s one where he's like, no, he's a clear slime ball
Yeah,
trying to
exactly.
kill
The
him.
clear slime ball. Absolutely.
And
Like they should have
yeah,
seen the substance and looked at Dennis Quaid's character and be like, you know what? That's the kind of slimy guy you automatically root against. And I think Killian in this one and Josh Brolin's handsomeness really kind of like, it took me a while to like, damn, do I really want to hit on Killian? And then at the end, I'm
yeah,
like, okay, yeah, I gotta hit on
yeah,
Killian.
and then you have like Coleman Domingo, who's like once again just like great.
He's
He's
so
one of those
awesome as
guys.
Bobby P. He's so
Yeah,
great.
and it's like, yeah, he's the host, but at the same time, he's like, yo, he like he's an interesting character in this one because like, yeah, I'm very complicit in killing these people clearly, and he's all for it. But at the same time, he's like, okay, the show's not popular anymore, so I will have no part in it.
I'm
And
done.
it's like, yeah, that's it. That's a cool host thing, right? He's a cool
Yes.
character because of that complication. But at the same time, the 80s one kind of was smarter in uniting the host and the owner at the same
Yes.
thing to like be just this one all around slime ball, just
It made
trying
more
to
sense
manipulate.
because when you do something like that, you know that the host is controlling the narrative because he's the
Right.
owner. So it's easy to do that. You don't have that rebellious nature that Bobby T has in him at the end there, right?
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that if Killian is the host. And I think that's also a missed opportunity because they should have milked Josh Brolin more. It's like, hey, we're gonna pay you a couple millions. Let's get some more out of you, you know?
And even
They did.
yeah, and even then, like even then, Coleman Domingo probably could have been both. That's the thing
Yes.
too, right? He's
Yes.
like, he probably could have
Absolutely.
played off the charming host on screen and then do the sinister stuff,
Because he's
right?
that
Off
good.
screen.
But like again, he even showed that range of not caring when people are dying because hey, baby, it's entertainment. We got to
Yeah,
keep going. Like
it's just TV. Yeah. And
yes,
it's
like even he tells him sometimes he's like, hey, cool it down. We're live. Like he has that thing. And you're absolutely right, Tex. That would have been a great idea to have Coleman as both Killian, host and owner of the network.
yeah, and it's like, when you get to the ends of both of them, you get to the ends of the 80s one, and it's like, like Arturo said, it's so much tighter in terms of like the world and its story. Ben Richards gets ultimate revenge on Killian, right? And he kills him off, and very fittingly sends him down the chute that started the whole thing, right? And in this one, you have Ben Richards may or not surviving the plane that struck him down. And then he's like, oh, okay. Then he reunites with his family. They're starting a revolution, tearing down the studio, the next season of the show. And it's like, it's one of those things where like it's wanting its cake and eating it too, and this is where like it feels off. It's like it feels like it's chewing too much. Like it's like, oh, okay, you you're just doing too much. And in that case, it's like, oh, maybe it should have just been better with the book ending. You know, him crashing in a network building. And then from there, everyone's like, did he die? It doesn't matter. Richards lives in our hearts. You know, he did this. We saw him fight the network. We can fight the network. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just
like, you're absolutely right too. Like after the whole plane ordeal, there's just this lapse of time that you have no idea what happened. Like it just goes back to the network. It's like, okay, new season starting. It's like, okay, how much time passed by? What's going on here?
It raises so many questions that didn't need to be asked. Like it was just kind of like you already had a movie that was raising questions in terms of like, well, why did we need to spend time doing that? Like just in terms of just the experience overall, you're like, well, why did we need to? Of course, plot wise, you could easily say, oh, he needed to do this because he was just running and he just needed a place to run, happened to come across this, etc., etc. You know, all sorts of explanations on paper as to why you do things. But thematically, just in terms of just watching, it's like, why are we doing this? Why do you need us to see this? And it's like, oh, okay, so we can see Michael Cera be goofy in a house. Cool. But also it's like, did we need all that?
And it's like to restock his supplies, right?
Yeah, it is like, oh, he needed to introduce the idea of him being a martyr. But no, we kind of got that already with the other guy who helped him before. That he's like, oh, he's turning into a symbol. And it's like, oh, we saw that through graffiti, and we saw it through other things later that didn't need to be said. You know,
yeah, there's a lot of things here that as you mentioned, Tex, that don't really have a payoff. Like, for instance, in that Michael Cera scene alone, we get a couple of reveals about how the network tracks people. For instance, there's this really cool idea of a DNA sniffer being installed in all the light posts on the street. And then you actually get that visual in one scene. But then after that, it's like, okay, but if that's the case, why didn't it tell him he's right here?
And,
you know?
and even then, at that point, the run was already over. Like that part of the movie was over, and we were already getting to the finale. And it's just all that stuff like boiled in. And when you compare it to the 80s one, you compare it to the book, and it's like, yes, this one was more faithful to the book, and it changes the ending. But at the same time, you look at the 80s one, you look how tight it is, and you look at this one, and you look how much more it does, you know, and it's like it does more and you want to compliment it, which I do. I was like, yeah, I want to compliment it for doing more. It's a movie perfect for right now. Like quite literally, it is a perfect movie for right now, right? And
absolutely.
The 80s one definitely shows its age. It's definitely a Schwarzenegger led movie. You know, you're like, okay, you're watching a Schwarzenegger movie. The Running Man is exactly what it is. But at the same time, it's funny that, you know, both of them, their positives and negatives end up just kind of equaling out to one another. They're kind of on the same level of experience after, right? You're like, you watch it and you're like, yeah, that was solid, you know? And it's the same thing
because like the 87 version has like things that kind of get annoying too. Like like the character of Maria Conchita Alonso and that whole like sequence of him trying to like escape and everything.
Yeah,
you know,
the
and taking
whole
her
the fact that it's very 80s in that like he literally like threatens her to like get her help, and he's like, oh,
he literally kidnaps a woman in order to kind of, you know, get himself free. But there's a lot of things that happened there in that movie that are like, okay, but they're just specifically 80s toned kind of things,
it's
you
like,
know? But
because in the 80s one there's already a revolutionary a revolution happening.
Exactly. There's already unrest going, and you see them in the prison where they have like all these people who are just like not falsely imprisoned, but they're imprisoned unjustly for a longer period of time for small crimes, you know? And then you get the Ben Richards thing. So you see that society's crumbling. In this one, you kind of don't. Everything looks kind of nice. They only show you a couple of like streets that look like, you know, it came from Judge Dredd, but like,
and it's like,
I'm like, what? Because in everything else, I'm like, oh look, it's the New York City skyline. What's going on over here?
Yeah, and it's New York, it's Boston, it's Derry, it's all these, and it's like, oh, it's just wrapping up things, Arturo. So the way we do things here at the Morgue, even in a conversation like this, it's pay for it, wait for it, or stay away from it. Pay for it is, hey, go out to the theater as soon as you can, check it out as streaming as soon as you can, whenever the most opportune time for you to immediately do it. And like, even if you have to pay for it a little bit, that's pay for it. Wait for it is wait for it to go to streaming, or you can wait to watch it on TV. You can wait around. You don't have to immediately go out and see this one. And stay away from it. Self-explanatory. You're not missing anything. So Arturo, what say you? Pay for it, wait for it, or stay away from it?
Man, I really wanted to love this movie because I do love the first one. I love Arnold movies. This one had the action, but I wish it had more action in it. Glenn Powell is ready for all that. He was ready. Dude's jacked. That said, I think it's definitely a wait for it. You can watch this in the comfort of your own home. In the meantime, while you wait for this to drop on VOD, watch the OG. That way you have a nice little comparison as to what you can expect in differences as you guys listen to this conversation, because I think each of these movies do have things that have merit, but they also have things that bring down the quality of their watch. Tex, what do you think about this movie? What say you?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm also in wait for it. It's like this one's going to do well when it gets to streaming platforms. This one would have been a perfect, like, if it's out by Christmas, this is like a good, like, I can definitely see this like a good Christmas afternoon kind of movie. You're like, this is the time of day where you're going to kind of like watch something, maybe take a nap, while you're waiting for food, or maybe you ate already. And it's like, yeah, like it's the late afternoon wind down kind of movie. And this is perfect for it. You're going to do some laundry, you're going to do some homework, you got some housework you got to do. Like it's that kind of movie. It's so good. And, Glenn Powell, he's doing a lot. He's doing his best. Katie O'Brien's great. I don't think I had a problem with the cast. It's more so just like just everything that happens in it. It's like, oh, okay, do you need that much? I don't know. It's still, I'm still even confused now as like, where do I sit on this? And that deserves a wait for it.
Yeah, maybe Edgar Wright wasn't the right director for this story.
No, boo.
That's
boo,
probably what
boo, bad joke.
my opinion at the end comes down to, because Edgar Wright, in terms of like the action he does,
right,
he doesn't he's not known to have these crazy action sequences. He does do camp action and all that, as we've seen in all his Shaun of the Dead and stuff like that.
Like if you watch Hot Fuzz, there's like good gun shootouts and stuff. He knows his action. And you watch Scott Pilgrim.
I do have to say that.
You watch Scott Pilgrim and you see like these fight scenes. He knows what he's doing. It's just like,
it would have been cool if he would have at least kind of done something different then.
I think that's the thing. It's like, it was just missing those action sequences. You kind of hope for that, right? And it's like,
it was a little straightforward for him, action wise. Like usually he has a pop to his stuff, whether it's Late Night in Soho or Scott Pilgrim or the Shaun of the Dead and stuff like that. There's a pop to his stuff. This one kind of was very muted, and I think that could be because of the remake stuff and the studio stuff. But either way,
I think you're right. Maybe it's just bogged down by. I think it was just weighed down by everything. Like the fact that it had to adapt Stephen King's book. It probably had to even do that to like warrant its existence and stuff like that. Like
that's a great point.
There's a lot of stuff that you said, just studio wise, that there's probably like I don't want to fully blame Edgar Wright for this because he has done great work, but at the same time you look at this and you're like, oh, okay,
it's not your best work.
You're like, all right, because you see this, you see Baby Driver, and you're like, oh, okay,
seriously.
But then you see, that's a whole conversation for another day.
Go watch Last Night in Soho, folks. That is
watch Last Night in Soho. Watch Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Watch Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is probably my favorite out of all those.
Hot Fuzz is really good.
Yeah, The World's End wasn't good, but that's what I'm saying. Like even back then, I was like, oh, The World's End was kind of and so here we are. like
Yeah, we
Arturo
are.
said, the bad joke, but I loved it. It's maybe right was wrong. We'll see. We'll see.
But anyways, thank you for listening and for watching, folks. This is the Morgue, where we dissect the latest and greatest in the world of entertainment. As always, I am your host, Arturo Padilla. With me on this journey is Mr. Nick Valdez. A big shout out goes to Delvirus for the logo, and a big shout out goes to you guys. Do not forget, we are on the pod feeds, and go like, subscribe on everywhere you have a social. And most importantly, always remember, it is a scary world out there, but we are here to walk you through it.